Hello, sim racers, and welcome to another live stream. It's been a while, almost a week that I didn't do any live stream, so sorry about that. As you can see, lazy dev here, so that's why. Truth to be told is that we are having pretty tough weeks in terms of development. There are some not so nice bugs that we are finding to the back end, and they keep us really busy. But as you know, we are always on top of the development, and we try really hard to make the sim as stable as possible. So first of all, uh, big big thank you, guys. We are now at almost 3,700 subscribers, so this channel keeps growing and growing and growing. Thank you so much for all the support that you are giving us. As usual, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so that you know when I'm doing these live streams. We are still I still try to understand when is the best time to do those live streams. Until now, I was doing a live stream every Friday, but as I said, lots of work, some extra stuff, so I wasn't able to do the live stream last Friday. Um, Not to worry, we are here. We're doing this live stream on Sunday, no problems at all. Actually, it might be even better. At least until we don't have, until the Formula One and the MotoGP and the obviously the GT3 races won't start again. Maybe it's a good idea to make it on Sunday, but we'll see. No big deal. All right. So, is it everything okay on the chat? I already see so many people joining. Already over 100 concurrent viewers. Thank you so much for that. So, yeah, let's see how you guys doing. Oh, that's so good. So many people. All right. Yes. We should make Kevin reach us and explain us how to, make the perfect fuel consumption strategy. For the guys that don't know, Kevin Stuck is our developer responsible for multiplayer and ratings. He's doing an amazing job behind the scenes, and he's also a very good racer. But it seems that lately has some issues with understanding how much fuel he has to put on his BMW, because usually he's using his BMW M6 for the races, and it is an ongoing joke because I think it's already 2 or 3 races that he remains without fuel towards the end of the race. So yeah, all right. So um, Kevin stuck without fuel. Yes, that's always the case. So okay, what are we going to do today? Today we are going to uh, choose this wonderful BMW M6. It is a fantastic car, great for beginners, but also very difficult car to push right on the limit and make good lap times. It has some issues with the aero and the suspensions, so you need to know how to overtake those. But fortunately, it seems that in the Intercontinental GT Challenge, the BOP is much better for this car. They gave it the correct amount of power that this car needs. It's a very big car, lots of big frontal area. So it seems that it is much more. It has much more performance than in the normal series. So yeah, we're gonna get this car. Particularly like this black with those orange stripes. One really cool car. So we're gonna get this car, and we're gonna go at Suzuka, which is an amazing track, amazing track. Thanks, Diego Morales Castillo, for joining and subscribing. So we had already a test track, a test race on this with the Red Line Motorsport League, where we tried the. It was a stress test for driver swaps. It went really well, really well. We have solved many problems, and it seems pretty stable for proper racing. For proper driver swap endurance racing. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're going to select hot stint, and just load the truck. And
Alright, this session is about
let
consistency.
me.
Try to
Oh,
be fast,
that's
but don't push it over the limit.
way too loud. Let me lower a little bit uh, the sound here, the master. Yeah, at about 20 was correct, because I had it that raised much higher for the stress test that we did on the race. So what are we going to do? As usual, the first thing to do is learn the track and find out the reference points. Okay, so just uh, there is no use to select any specific setup here. There is no problem at all. We just select the safe setup, and we have a go slowly around the track in order to find reference points, understand where to brake, what to do, when to turn in, where to accelerate, and so on. Right. So I mean, look at the amazing details of this truck. This is, I mean, Simone did an amazing job with this truck. Really, really cool, amazing truck.
Green light, green light.
I have to say it's not one of my favorite truck. It is a difficult track, and honestly, personally, I also have issues with this track. I cannot always, make the perfect lap, but still, you cannot argue that it's not one of the best tracks ever, everywhere. So, okay, so we arrive at the straight line here, and the thing here is that the first turn is you don't really have to brake a lot. It's not like a heavy braking point. You have to throw the car in the turn and try to scrub speed slowly during the turn, because this kind of turn here is it's a double turn practically. It has two kind of turns that they are very closely linked together. So you keep turning, 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 and low, slowing down. So because the first turn is pretty fast, the second turn is much slower. So what I do usually is that I want to brake around 50 meters. Oh, let me show you the mouse, because like this you won't be able to check the mouse. So let me just for a moment go outside here and select the game. Okay, so that you can see the game. And then I want to select the that little app that permits you to see the mouse better. So how was it? I don't know. I don't remember. Ah, where was it? I won't be able to show you. Okay, let's see. Pointer focus. That's it. I think. Yes. Yep. That's it. And let's go back here. All right. And still nothing, right? Okay. Okay, I think you can see it now, right? Let me know if you guys can see the mouse again on the chat. Let's check the chat. All right. Okay. All right. So let me know in the chat if you can see the mouse, guys. I hope you can see the mouse now. Yes. Okay. Fantastic. So here we have the 50 meters, and we also have this orange again paint on the guardrail. I will start braking on the orange paint when I'm pretty much here. So when I'm going through the orange paint on the guardrail, like that, when I'm over that, I will start braking, and hopefully I can then slowly get my braking point closer to the 50 meters. But before that, I will start, slowly from the orange mark on the guardrail. And then the next thing I have to go here is to do is to go as close to the curb here as possible, because as you can see, there is a lot of curbing into the road, and that curbing helps me bring more speed inside the turn. So go very, very close here. Obviously, don't go over that because the speed is quite a lot, and that will unstable your car. But go as close as possible. If you stay outside, then you risk going outside the rubber line and outside the curb, the camber of the road, and you're losing grip. So you will end up very, very wide here, and this is something that you don't want to do. So keep it as close to the apex as possible, and either there's two things you can do here, or you stabilize the car with a little bit of accelerator and then instantly on the brake, and we will see that in a minute, or you keep braking a little bit if your car is stable enough under braking, and you keep slowing down, scrubbing speed, and then when you are more or less here on the curb, you need to brake harder because this turn is much more uh, it's much more narrower and closer than the first one. So here you need to go down to like third or second gear depending on your car. Now, when you see this white curve here, this is where we will try to accelerate. Uh, Now this depends a lot of your car setup. If your car setup is neutral enough, you could accelerate here and will probably make the turn. If the car has a little bit of understeer, if you are one gear down, maybe you can power oversteer it a little bit and make it slide a little bit and go out. But that doesn't mean it's faster, but at least it will make the turn. If the car goes way too much into understeer here, then it means that you're trying to accelerate way too fast, so you have to accelerate it after this white curve. So our reference points is this white curve. We will either try to accelerate it on top of that, or a little bit earlier, or a little bit later, depending on how we feel the car. But this is our mark for exiting the turn. Okay, and that's the first turn. We are going to be over the curb here, and then we will try. Now this is where the difficult part of Suzuka, the first difficult part of Suzuka start. Well, already we are into the difficult part of Suzuka because the first two turns are already pretty difficult. But here we have 5 turns, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, 5 turns, which are one after another sequence. There is no practical turns one after another, and it is of extreme importance to be very precise. Getting correct lines into every single turn and have a flow, as we say. So have the correct acceleration, braking, enter the turn, apex, acceleration again, exit, braking. You have to make each one of them perfectly, because if you go too wide or if you go too late on the brakes into one of them, then it ruins the whole sequence, and that means you're losing tons and tons of time. So start with the first one, make it perfect, and then go and follow what you have to do for every one of them. Now, unfortunately, we don't have, as you can see, we don't have any reference points here. But the good thing is that you don't really need to brake hard for this first turn. You arrive like in third gear, and then you touch the brakes a little bit, and then you go into coasting into the first turn. So touch the brakes, go in, and then try to follow the line as good as possible. First apex here on the green side of the turn of the curb. Oops, engine, and then accelerate a little bit, touch the brakes a tiny bit, and again the green here you can see. Let me go a little bit behind. The green here is the apex, so go as close as possible into the apex again. After that, accelerate again hard. Okay, you can go a bit wide here and then get back to the middle of the road. You don't have to go wide to enter the next one. more or less on the middle of the road, enter again, tiny tab on the brakes. Maybe you don't even need to brake, depends how much speed you have and how much turning the car has. uh, you could go a little bit on top of that curb, but don't overdo it. Acceleration, exit the curb here. Now this is tricky. This is the last turn and it's quite tricky. You can enter this turn quite fast, but then as you go in this turn, it keeps going narrower and narrower, and the radius becomes shorter and shorter. So it is a turn that becomes slower at the exit. So you can go in pretty fast, but then as you move in, and you can see here, let me show you, you have this mark, okay? Now this mark here, you see, this one, this little, I don't even know what it is. So this mark here, you can have this mark as your point where you will need to start braking just a little bit to keep the front end inside the turn, because otherwise you're gonna end wide. Now, here's what I mean. As you can see, the turn starts to become more and more closer, and you need to keep your front end near to the curb, to the inside curb, at the right here. Okay. Now I've seen some people going wide here like this, okay, and then arriving here, waiting a bit to take the last turn of the sequence. But obviously, since they are not at the outside of the road and they are in the middle of the road, they have to wait a lot with the accelerator until they can accelerate again. Now, it is a possibility. We are going to try this and see which situation is faster. Okay, but usually what I like to do, and we will see if it's correct. I might be wrong about that. I might be wrong. So what I like to do usually is stay as close to the curb here. Okay, accelerate a bit later around here. Stay Arrive wide to the middle of the road, but not go very wide, here to the middle of the road, and try to go back wide here as much as possible, so that I can enter this uphill turn very fast, raise a little bit my accelerator when I am on the apex around here. Okay, that will bring the nose into the curb, and then flat out and try to drive the car while it is sliding, uh, drive the car up to the outside curb here, but not let it go too wide. The line that I make is different. So I have more acceleration in the exit, and that makes me gain time. That's my impression. We're going to try both solutions, okay, and see which one is the fastest. But usually I do that one. So I prefer to have a faster exit. So this from here on, it's all flat out, so no big problems. All of that is flat out, no issue at all. And now we are pointing on the left side and 50 meters mark to have a very hard but also very short braking distance for the first right-hander here. So 50 meters, maybe a little bit before 50 meters, hard on the brakes. I'm gonna use fourth gear, and I'm gonna try to clip the apex right here. So jump a little bit on the inside curb. Now, to jump on the inside curb, it depends on your car. If your setup and the car can take curbs in a correct way, then you can do it. If it cannot take the curb properly, then you just have to clip the curb and not go and jump over it. Now, if you do it properly, you're gonna be very fast during all this turn, and you're gonna end up outside here. Uh, Keep on the accelerator because you want to stabilize the car, and then again there is no actual reference point around here, but if you do it correctly, uh, you're gonna be here in fourth gear, and you can see more or less this orange wall here. Now, when you are almost done with the orange wall, or a little bit sooner, that is the correct time to brake hard. Brake as hard as possible, and you can put third or second gear with the BMW. I usually try to put second gear. Again, if your setup permits, you go over the curb like this. If the setup doesn't permit you, you will go a little bit before outside of the curb. Now, this this is a tricky corner. It's a tricky corner not because you're gonna lose control, but because many times you arrive way too fast, okay, at the corner, and when you're arriving too fast, you keep braking even after the apex. Now, normally you should be in a position like this. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so you're gonna be in a position like this, okay, and you should be, if everything's done correctly, you should be able to accelerate from here on, okay. But usually you arrive way too fast, so you're trying to rotate the car and scrub speed down with your brakes, and so you keep braking to put the nose in, and you arrive at this point and you're still braking, and so you accelerate from here on. Now, as you see, and we saw that on the last stream, the faster you accelerate, the better it is for your speed and for your lap times. So if you do this kind of error, you are like 4 or 5 meters later acceleration than what you should do. Again, we will see that when we will try to do the laps properly. All right, so now the exit is um, it's not so tricky, but it is spectacular here because, especially with this car, you have lots of torque and turbo lag, so you might end up a little bit oversteery here. But it shouldn't be that difficult to maintain control, even if you go over the curb. Don't go way too much over the curb because it's easy to get a penalty for cutting the road for track limits. But yeah, you can come over here like this, and what you see from up here is the long back straight. Practically, the cars are going over that, and going through the back straight and into the 130 air turn. So you are practically going underneath that. It is, the only circuit that is into a 8-figure. Actually, there are two circuits that work like this. But in only one of those circuits you can actually race. The other circuit that is 8-figure is Fiorano circuit, the private test track of Ferrari. But you cannot race on that circuit. You can drive Fiorano in some sims. I think where there is a mode, or I'm not sure if we included it on Assetto Corsa 1. I don't remember. Anyway. All right, so we move on from here. Now, the next turn right here is a flat out turn, but it is very important to take the correct line and stay at the exit as close as possible to the right hand of the road. Do not go, do not let the car slide and go outside towards left. So stay as close as possible here, and also the end of the curb, all right, is where you want to start your braking. Maybe even a little bit sooner. It depends how fast you arrive on this turn. So if you've done the last corner fast enough, then you might want to start braking a tiny bit before the end of the curb. If you've done the last corner a bit slower, then you could try and brake exactly at the end of the curve, but always be careful. So you end the curbs, and here you start braking. Now you have to be very careful here. Don't try and stay as wide as possible, moving the steering wheel a lot and doing this kind of of movements, because first you want to stay on the right, and then you're going to go towards this hairpin here. uh, if you want to brake in a very short distance, you need to brake with your steering wheel as straight as possible, because otherwise the ABS starts, engaging, and that makes your braking distance longer. So even if you are a little bit, out of place, or you are not exactly at the point where you would like to be, try and keep your steering wheel straight like this, even if that means that in the end, you're gonna end at the center of the road instead of completely at the right hand. So keep your steering wheel as straight as possible, and that will permit you a shorter braking distance than, trying to go as wide as possible and then go into the turn. This is gonna make you arrive very long in the brake distance, and you're gonna end up at the outside of the hairpin here. Okay. All right. So now you go in, and here's the situation here. Um, if you try and do this hairpin as, rounded as possible, all is fine, all is good, but you're gonna end at the outside here with the car still pointing out towards, the walls, etc. And because of the camber of the road, it means that you're gonna, keep turning a lot. And by keep turning a lot, it means that you're gonna have your front end on the road on. It is a little bit like a hill, so the front right end is gonna be way higher than your rear left wheel, which means that the rear left wheel has not too much weight and load on top of it. It will start spinning, and that means that the traction control will start, engaging, and that will make your exit harder. So try to rotate the car and exit this hairpin with the car a little bit rotated like this, like that. That will permit you to put down the power better and exit with the steering wheel less turned, and so the traction control will engage much less, and it will give you a much better exit from this turn. Now, all of that is it's all of this information is basic. I mean, Aris, what are you saying to us? We know everything about that. I know. I also know all of that, but it really, at least for me, it really helps to, you know repeat all that stuff to yourself and do all this exercise, let's say, because at the end we keep trying to get as fast as we can, and when you are trying to force yourself to go as fast as possible, this is where you start doing errors. And errors, by errors, I don't mean big errors that, you're going wide and you understand, oh yeah, I fucked up, so I'm so low. No, you are doing slight errors, and those slight errors are, are making you lose lots of tenths at every turn, and in the end your lap time is much lower. So repeat all those exercises, keep this in your brain, repeat to yourself that you have to do it like this, you have to do it like that, and you will see that you're getting better and better. All right, so let's move on. Now the next turn, it's no big deal. Um, the only advice I can give you, it's all flat out from here on. The only advice I can give you is, try to use as little steering wheel angle as possible. The more steering wheel angle you use, the more your tires are scrubbing speed and have rolling resistance. So you are losing a tiny bit of speed, half a kilometer, uh, 2/10 of a kilometer, whatever. But you're losing a little bit of speed. So the less steering wheel angle you manage to use during all this flat out turn, the better it is for your speed and for your lap times. That's why we usually go, outside here like that and go slowly in again, and we do not stay as close as possible. So as I said, now you have to stay at the right hand of the road, and you will see here a secondary road and a piece of asphalt. Can you see that? That arrives on the right side of the road. This is your marker, your reference point for braking for the next turn. Now, as usual, I'm giving you basic reference points. Depending on the car, some of you might, brake a little bit sooner than here. Some might start the braking exactly here. Some might start the braking at the start of the green curb sideline here. It all depends on your setup, on your because if you have, for example, a lot of wing and you have a car like, for example, the Aston Martin V8, which doesn't have a lot of power, then obviously you have to gain speed on the braking zones and inside the turns. All right, so you're gonna brake later because you can also make the turns much faster. On the BMW, that you don't have that much speed in the turns, but you have lots of power, you are arriving here much faster, and so probably you have to brake a little bit sooner and go into the turn a little bit slower. So it depends on all that. So again, brake around here. Now, this is a quite tricky turn. Uh, Again, you have to go and turn in a little bit sooner than what you should think. If you stay on the outside, then the camber of the road will make you slide, and you will end up very wide around here, and you will be very slow. You have to turn in just a little bit sooner than what the ideal line would normally be, and you have to keep trail braking a little bit to keep the nose in until you are around here. From here on, you can go back to the accelerator, stabilize the car, and possibly arrive wide and on the curb like this. Okay? Now, for the next turn again, this is even trickier because the next turn is uh, is the turn that brings you to the very very long back straight. So you need to have as much exit speed as possible, and to do so, you have to get the correct line. If you go too early inside, then you're gonna lose time because then you're gonna end up wide. But the problem is that even if you take a later apex, then the road goes downhill, and the whole camber changes, and you find yourself very slow at the apex, at the very late apex, and you understand that you're losing time. So you need to find a compromise here. I think I'm braking around a little bit before the curb ends here, and I try to bring the car into a slightly late apex here. This is my late apex. Now it depends again on the car. Uh, with the BMW, you have some issues. You have a very strong engine and a light rear end, and that brings oversteer. You also have lots of turbo lag, and that also brings oversteer exactly when you don't want it. So you need to try and have your car rotated when the curb ends around here, so that you can exit the turn in that way, more or less pointing this way, and then apply gradually your accelerator to make sure that you don't get lots of wheel spin from the turbo lag, from the light rear end and everything, and you don't end up, oversteering like this. It's great, it's satisfying, but it makes you slower. So you have to, if you are trying too hard, then you will see that while you're turning, and that should be your correct line, at some point the turbo lag kicks in, and you have to, rotate the car like this and correct the oversteer. If you're correcting the oversteer for way too much time, then you're doing it wrong. You have to be smoother with the accelerator. If instead you are keeping like that, and every once in a while you just correct it a little bit, this is the correct way. All right. So you end up here again, wide, and from now on it's all straight line practically. This is the I believe Around here is where you're going over the track that comes underneath us. Yeah, here more or less. And we are approaching this 130 turn. Now the Formula One drivers can go inside the flat out with just one hand, the other hand saying hi to the people, drinking something, or correcting, uh, their side mirror. But we cannot do this. We don't have enough grip for this kind of stuff. Again, it depends on your car. With the BMW, I will try to brake somewhere at around the 50 mark, and we also have this mark here, somewhere inside here. And I will not actually brake. I will just tap the brakes a little bit and throw the car to the inside. Now, here's what you have to be careful around here. Now, I've seen many people, trying to enter the car. They are arriving way too fast, and they keep braking, 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 and they end up here and they still braking to keep the car in place. Now, this obviously is not so good in terms of lap time. So how I do it? Let's see if I can manage this properly. Okay. So I will just tap the brakes at around 50 meters mark, a slight tap at the brakes, and then instantly, as fast as possible, to the inside, and also touch a little bit the curb here. Now you can see the road. It has some curb. It has some camber here, so the road goes towards the apex of the inside of the turn right here. uh, you need to be as close here as possible. If you go a little bit wide, then this is where the road goes a bit more flatter and you just lose the apex and you have to keep waiting and you have lots of understeer. Or if you are some cars that are very sensible in pitch sensitivity, they will even try to rotate and go into a spin. So what I do is when I'm around here after the brake tab, I will instantly go into the accelerator. I will keep the sixth gear, go into the accelerator, and drive all the car a tiny bit over the curb like this, over the accelerator. On the accelerator, if I do everything properly, then I will end up, here on the curb. Okay. It is a tricky turn. We will understand it better when we are going to do some laps. Now from here on, you move across the road all the way to the left, and you have to watch out the 100 meters here and here. Now, with this car, I cannot practically brake at the 100 meters. I will try to brake a little bit sooner. So depending where you are on the track, you either brake more or less here before the 100 meters disappear on your left side or your right side or on your left side, so a little bit earlier. Very hard on the brakes. Again, don't follow the road. Try to go as straight as possible with the steering wheel straight, because this means shorter braking zone. And again, for this you can, depending on your car setup and how your car can handle the curbs, you are either going to jump over the curbs like this, or you have to just touch them. uh, Personally, I will jump over that, go instantly on the accelerator, and what I do usually is soft shift short shift in second. So down from the first curb, short shift in second, so that I don't have all that torque when I'm jumping over the curbs. Right, so second here, over this curb again, you end up wide like that, over the next curb. Now, here you can do different things. If you have done everything correctly, then you're gonna go down from this right curb, and the car will unstable itself a little bit. Now, this might be the correct opportunity to short shift again in third gear. Okay, so that gives you a little bit less um, torque on the wheels, and you can control the wheel spin and not have big issues. Or you can keep the second, but you have to have the perfect steering wheel angle, because if it is a little bit more, then the turbo lag will kick in and it will unstabilize your car. You're gonna have lots of wheel spin, oversteer, and you're losing lots of time. So you have to have as less steering wheel angle as possible to keep your rear tires with enough traction. Or as we said, you just short shift in third, flat out, and you have enough traction for the torque of the third gear. And that is the final turn here. You're gonna end a little bit wide like this, and that finishes the a lap at Suzuka. All right, so I hope you guys had a good look on that. We're gonna do some laps here, a couple of laps during the hot stint to check if we've done everything correctly, and then we're gonna move into a race weekend and see what we can do. Okay? All right. So let me see what's going on into the chat. Well, first of all, wow, 225 concurrent users. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Again, remember, subscribe and everything. Okay, so thank you so much. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Yeah, the usual Leonard. He's so fast, this guy. Breaks everywhere later. So good. Yeah, congrats, mate. Yes, I know you. Anyway, enough of France and. Okay, so let's see what else we have. Just lift the throttle. Yes, that's a good thing. Sometimes you just have to lift the throttle. It works. Not with all the cars. With some cars it works, and better drivers than me. Blah, 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 blah. Celtic Pharaoh can take it flat out. Well done, mate. I can't. All right. C'è la ruota panoramica. Amato says there's the panoramic wheel. Yes, it is fantastic. All right. Blah, blah, blah. The pointer has disappeared. That's strange. Can you see it now, guys? Let me know. Tim Larson says my English pronunciation is a lot better. Thanks, mate. Yes, I'm trying to get any advice as possible, and so thank you very much for your advice. Uh, in this life, you have to get better and better. That's the meaning of life. Learn things, be curious about things, and get better, whatever you do. All right. See 72 likes. Yay! uh, Mikael Olkzuk. Sorry, guy. I'm sorry, my friend. I can't spell. I can't pronounce your name exactly. Explain ECU. What are the differences between quali and race AQ apart from fuel consumption and horsepower? Is it worth to use quali maps during the race, or are there any drawbacks? So here's the deal, and why the ECUs are not so important. Um, Most of the cars, 99% of the time, use just the quali map. It is the default map that we give you. Usually it's number one or number two or whatever, but it is the default map. So you just use the default map from the aggressive setup, and it's all that you need. You don't need anything else. The There's a difference in consumption, yes, especially with some cars that they have very high consumption, like the Mercedes or the Jaguar, for example, cars like that. The Porsche has quite a high consumption. Not the Evo one. The Evo one is a little bit better, but the old one quite high consumption. Um, so on those cars, if you switch to the lower consumption ECU, you will gain in fuel consumption, but we are talking gains that they are marginal. It might be 10%, it might be 50%, it might be 5%, depending on the car. Now, why I'm saying marginal? Uh, it really depends. First of all, as we said many times, lap times, tire wear, fuel consumption, the best thing to improve that is this one. So the driver. The driver is always where you go. So if you just release the accelerator a tenth of a second before braking, that already makes much more economy on the fuel consumption than if you oops, yeah, the lights of the aquarium went down. Um, So that one makes much more fuel economy than you playing with the ECUs. So the ECUs is to help you a little bit, but honestly, it's your driving style that makes all the difference. I'll give you another example. It's true that using a race ECU will have less power. Okay, but the less power we're talking about, those cars are already very optimized, so you're gonna lose 2 to 3 horsepower, and not even from the top end, or maybe 4 horsepower, but probably somewhere in the middle of the range, not at the top end. At the top end, if you're losing more than 2 horsepower, it's I'm gonna be very surprised. Honestly, it's not that much. Um, which means, by the way, that less horsepower, it means that you will uh, use for more time the accelerator flat out during the straight lines, for example, because less horsepower, it means that you are not accelerating as fast. So at the given straight line, you're gonna stay on the throttle for more time. So from one end, you are consuming less fuel. From the other point of view, you are consuming more fuel because you're staying on the accelerator much more. So that's why we're telling you, just use ECU map, the default one. There are some situations that you might need something different. In that situations, that's why we're saying it doesn't matter. You have to study first before going into the race. It's not like if you haven't studied, you're gonna play with ECU and it will save you. No, you have to make your correct strategy before the race. For example, Mercedes at Monza, you need to be on ECU number 2, and also control a little bit your driving style, because otherwise, if you do it just at the last 10 laps of the race, it will not save you. So this is why we're telling you, study it before and make your choices before that. All right, so mouse visible, nice. Never lose the accent. Impossible to lose the accent, sorry. um, any possibility to create a leaderboard of hot laps where you can download Ghost or Drive Against? That would be great. I don't know if we will be ever able to do it. I'm not the kind of guy that I can give you an answer of it, but I would love that. But I don't know what to tell you. Again, sorry about this, guys, but each one of us has specific. I mean, I can tell you pretty much everything about physics, but for other things of the game, uh, either I don't know, or even if I know, I don't know all the details, so I might tell you something and might not turn out true. So better to not express myself on that. Uh, if I set up, if I set up, sorry, if I set up cars to feel the same, will they be as fast using the same line? Sorry, mate. I didn't understand that. If you can express it differently. Who the hell can dislike? Okay, thanks you guys. Thank you everybody for all the likes and all the love and all the support. It's really, really amazing. Um, yeah, don't worry about the guys that dislike. I mean, we always have 2 or 3 dislikes. It's the usual guys. No problems. Blah, 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 blah. iRacing sucks. No, iRacing doesn't suck. iRacing is one of the best simulators and probably the best multiplayer organization in our sim racing genre. You might not like it. I also find things that I don't like it, but all respect on other simulators. We all trying to work to give you guys to make our passion and give you guys the best simulators on the market. So it doesn't matter if you prefer one or the other one. Everybody, has its own strategy of doing things, and everybody tries really hard. So just spread the love, spread the love. No reason to talk back for one sim or another. Tremesley says, "Hello, sir. I'm watching your guides, but they are generally 1 to 3 hours long. Yeah, sorry, guilty. Can you make basic setup guides that are not long enough but give us enough info. Um, I should, you are right, but I am doing almost that, almost that. So what I'm doing is doing all those very long videos. Then I cut those videos into short edits and I name them. So if you go to my channel, you will find a playlist that it is how you can set up your car. And it usually has even, numbers and steps. So step one, do this. Step two, do that. Step three, do the other thing. So you go through the steps, looking all the videos one by one, and at each step you learn something new. And usually those short videos are like 10 to 20 minutes, not very long. So yeah, I think in that way, it can I can keep this format enjoyable for me, for the people that they like watching the long streams, and also for people that don't have all that time to go through all those long streams, but they enjoy shorter videos. Let me know if you have a different idea, and maybe we can work it out. Celtic Pharaoh says roughly how much power is lost between a quali map and a race map. For example, Lamborghini or Ferrari. In the middle of the power band, so say from 4,000 to 6,000 RPM, uh, 4, 5 brake horsepower. That's what you're losing. 5, 4, 3, depending on the car. Why is that? Those cars are very restricted in terms of fuel. Sorry, air intake. They restrict the cars in air intake. What does that mean? It means that even if they try, they don't have enough air pulling inside the engine. And if you don't have enough air, you don't have enough oxygen to burn. And even if you put more fuel into the engine, you are not gaining more power. So those cars are already making all the power they can do for the air that the rules allow them to pull inside the engine. Uh, which means that it's not like you can pull put much more fuel in it and make more power. So they are putting all the fuel they can up to a point that after that you're losing power, so it doesn't make any sense. uh, and that means that they are already very very optimized to work with with little air that they can put inside the engine. That obviously means that since they are so efficient and optimized, it's not like they can turn down the fuel a lot and consume much less. They cannot also because the fuel mixture is going to be so lean, and the temperatures, if the fuel mixture is lean, which means much less fuel for the air that you have in it, that means that the inside of the pistons is going to get very hot, and this then has reliability problems. So when you are going to a race ECU map, they will just lower a little bit the fuel, but not by much. It's not like, because otherwise uh, they're going to lose lots of power and they're going to lose reliability. So yeah, you're going to lose 4 or 5 horsepower in the mid of the range. At the top of the range, they will probably keep it lower by 2 or 3 horsepower. That's all. Okay. Uh, oh, everybody is explaining to our friend that I do the shorter videos. Very good. Thank you, guys. Are you going to do a Porsche? Yeah, sure. Maybe next one. Next one, Porsche. Um, Aris, can you add the tire history in the setup screen, like in the strategy where we can see where? Can we also see OMI and PSI last readings and total laps for its tire? OMI and PSI, tire pressure and temperature, I don't think it's going to be possible. But how much total laps for its tire is a good idea, and I think maybe we can work for this. Yeah, that's a good idea. When do you drive the V12 and do a setup for it? I have to do it because we're gonna participate on March, I think, on the 12 hours of Bathurst, and probably we're gonna try the Aston Martin V12 for that race for Bathurst. So yeah, I'll have to do that. All right. Um, what else? So animal 2394 says he jumped into sim racing just with release of Assetto Corsa Competizione. Well done, mate. Congrats and welcome. What would you tell me about how often I should practice and for how long per week? Uh, Great question. I don't know. Well, first of all, you have to have fun. Okay, so if you don't have fun, if you don't enjoy yourself, and the whole practice thing becomes, stressful, then that is an alarm that you're not doing it properly. Okay, so don't do this. Uh, but yeah, practice. I would say, like sports, every second day practice properly, because if you don't practice properly, you don't learn. And try to go outside your comfort zone. This is where all the proper learning happens. uh, Hello, Karthik, KJ, long from India. Hi, thank you. Any possibility to create leaderboard? Okay, again, this one we replied that. uh, Sometimes Madsen84 says, I love how Aris sometimes explains the smallest details in detail. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Sorry, mate. I tend to talk too much. All right. What do you behave the best? No, not really. But that's 288 GTO, great username. Let's say we put fast bump rebound to lowest values. So fast bump and fast rebound to lowest values. And we put the slow bump rebound to medium to high. Wouldn't that be having the best of both worlds? Having agility and being able to take curbs. Not exactly, because having the fast bumper rebound to lowest values, it will mean that at every curb, the body will probably oscillate way too much. Go back to my damping explanation video, and you will find exactly what's going on. Okay, guys, questions are keep coming. Let's have a timeout and do some driving, because otherwise, I mean, we just had some go on the on the track, so maybe we should do some driving. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get
Alright, mate. This session is about
the
consistency,
aggressive
refinement, and
preset as
mastering
usual,
all
because I
short-term
like it
controller
more
movement.
than the safe, and it is a little bit faster. Do a couple of laps and see if we can control and do all the work that we did on the reference points, and see how we are, and then we can switch on the race weekend and go on from there. Oops. You see how the turbo kicks in. Now, first of all, the BMW is like a diesel engine. It likes to works to to low to medium revs, so you don't have to over rev it. Okay, so braking at the yellow there. Keep braking. Second gear. Accelerate. Tiny tap of the brakes. Some costing. Tiny tap of the brakes again. Exit. Accelerate. Cost. Accelerate again. Okay, a bit of braking here, and now I have to wait, and do this. This is what I usually like to do. Then we will see if that is better or the other way is better. Brake. Whoops. Fourth gear inside. Second gear. All right. Stay at the right side and brake. Turn. All right. Yeah. Did you saw my steering wheel? Now I ended up very wide here at the exit. That wasn't good. So I have to rotate the car a bit better. Now braking at the asphalt, go a little bit. You see, I didn't go in the turn a bit earlier, so I ended up very, very wide. You see how the turbo lag kicks in, the turbo goes in and makes me oversteer a lot. So generally, Our reference points seem to work. Let's see also here. Tab inside. Again, I need to go inside sooner. So not so good. And braking. First gear over the curb. Second gear down and up the next curb. Third shift to third. Okay, let's do another lap, and let's see together all our reference points and correct lines. That's it. Second gear inside here. Accelerate at the end of the curb. Whoops, took a little bit too much curb over there. Here I have to brake a little bit sooner than I thought I should be. Ooh, when the turbo kicks in, it's really first gear. All right, looks good. Straight line on the steering wheel and inside. Rotate the car a little bit. Yes, now I can exit the turn a tiny bit better than before. Let's be more careful around here. Inside, yeah, that was much better. Braking, and now late apex. Whoop! Too violent on the accelerator, and you saw the oversteer. Now, tiny tab on the brakes and accelerator, and now it keeps the correct line. Braking, straight line on the steering wheel, over the curb, second gear, third gear, and that's it. That's a decent lap. Let's see. 59, 2.1, 2.12. All right, okay. Let's have a look at this replay, which is the most important thing. So, replay here. This is our good lap. We're gonna have a replay from the outside and see where we are with the car. So, braking was correct, and we are very close to the apex around here. So this means that this is the correct line for this turn. We did it very well, and you can see that we are staying on the brakes. I just released the brakes a little bit to stabilize the car with a tiny bit of accelerator. Better to toggle the HUD here so we can see what we did. Let's go back. So boom, braking, you see, before the 50 mark. Very good here. Inside, and you can see that I'm releasing the brakes and maybe going just a tiny bit on the accelerator to stabilize the car at the apex of the turn. So let's make it a bit slower. I didn't even go into the accelerator practically. Now I am gearing down, so gear change down, and the accelerator you see is from the automatic blip to raise the revs of the engine so that the downshift can happen. Yeah. So I keep braking. See how I keep modulating the braking force here. Very tiny braking force. I cannot brake too much because the car is way too much on the outside. You can see also the roll of the car here. See how close it is. Let me show you from the outside. Right. You can see how much the car is rolling. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that this tire doesn't have enough load on top of it. So if I brake much harder than this here, it will mean that I will end up locking the inner wheel. And not only I will have some flat spotting on the inner wheel, but it will also make the car go wider. Okay, so it will change my racing line, and obviously that will make me lose more time and so on. So tiny bit of braking and good modulation on the braking during this turn, and that allows me to keep the car on the correct racing line. You will see here that at some point I will straighten my steering wheel. Right now I'm still turning a lot, but now I will go. You see, I'm going straight and braking almost 100%. So all it needs is, straight a little bit your steering wheel. This brings equal weight to both of the wheels, and you can go hard on the brake and lose lots of speed instantly. And then turning in, and again, you can see here modulating the brake pedal. So those two things always have to be, you know, uh, interact together with one another. When your steering wheel is, you have to work like a robot. When your steering wheel is straight or there is less steering angle, then you can brake harder. If you're going and have more steering angle, then instantly and automatically you have to modulate your braking. You cannot keep all the braking down and have also steering angle. Go back where we explain how into my video of the Too Long Didn't Watch series. Uh, Go back into that video where we explain how tires generate grip. Tires generate grip in one direction practically. Yes, they can generate grip in two directions, but the more you ask from one direction, the less grip will generate to the other direction. So either you ask them braking grip in the longitudinal axis, okay, direction, and so if you ask them all the braking grip or the acceleration, if you are exiting the corner, so if you ask from the tires all the longitudinal grip, then you have to keep your steering wheel straight. If you are asking from your tires lateral grip, then you have to not asking also longitudinal grip. So if you are turning, you have to modulate your braking or even not brake at all, because otherwise if you're asking all the lateral grip, you cannot also ask for longitudinal grip. Okay, is that clear, guys? All right. Okay. So, we are at 280 concurrent viewers. Amazing. So, this is what we did. Let's see it again. Fast and slower here. So, we are turning in. We are asking nothing, so we can get all the lateral grip, and now we are braking. You see, for a while I'm having very, very small steering angle, and while I'm having this small steering angle, I can push harder on the brakes. And then, now that I'm starting turning to the turn again, turning the steering wheel, you will see that I will start modulating the braking. So you see, again, now I'm turning all the way, so I'm asking lots of lateral grip on the tires, and I have to modulate a lot my braking, because otherwise I will end up wide in understeer. Okay, so here it is. Now you see I'm asking all the possible lateral grip from the car. Since I'm asking all the possible lateral grip, I have to not ask any longitudinal grip at all. So that I'm not braking, I'm not accelerating, I'm going into coasting. Okay, I will go into coasting for practically until the apex, and then I will just start accelerating after the apex. So look at this. You see all the possible lateral grip. I'm asking everything that the tires can give me right now. And indeed, the car does turn. What did I do? Sorry about that. Whoops. Completely messed up the, okay, here I am. So again, all the lateral grip. And as we said, I'm arriving here at the white mark, and before the white mark, since the car has the correct angle, I can start to accelerate. I will also rotate the car a little bit on the power oversteer. Maybe that's not the correct, because you see I'm going a little bit wild on the accelerator. Maybe that's not the perfect style to do it. It's better if you go more gradually and keep the car without, spinning the rear wheels. But I've managed to do that. I'm accelerating like this. You see the car rotating, so I need to uh, um, turn back the steering wheel, I ask less lateral grip and try to give some traction at the rear tires. And here it is, exiting. You see, I'm correcting a little bit. This is what we're saying here, the feedback. So it's not like I'm having tons of oversteer, but I can feel the oversteer coming, hearing from the engine going up to the revs. So while I am into this position here, you see that I'm now feeling that the car is starting to rotate, so I'm starting to feedback to, give feedback to the car to keep the weight at the rear tires and try to get it a little bit, stop the over rotation. Okay, so I'm trying to stop the over rotation of the car and keep the traction and the forward movement. If I wouldn't do this fast movement, look at my steering wheel. You see, pump, this very very fast correction. If I wouldn't do this, then the car would over rotate way too much and I would have proper power oversteer, which would be much harder to control, and I would be losing lots of time. Let's see this in real time to understand how much fast it is. So real time, and look how fast I'm gonna do this kind of correction. Boom, very fast. Boom, very fast. Okay. All right. So is this everything clear until now? Let's see the chart a little bit. Uh, Little question here from Jam Kuso. Says, hi Aris, is it normal that the first feedback is much looser and smooth when it rains? Well, yes, you have much less grip, so it's normal. Uh, but won't the Marbled 89 says, but won't the braking put weight on the front tires? Yes, but the tires do not generate grip linearly. So it's not like, okay, I have, let's say, 100 kilos on the tires and they will generate 1G, let's say, right? It's completely arbitrarily. It's just an example. If I put 200 kilos, they will generate 2Gs. If I put 300 kilos, they will generate 3Gs. No, it doesn't work like that. What usually happens is that you put 100 and you get 1G. You put 200 kilos and you get 1.5G. You put 300 kilos and you get 1.6G. You put 400 kilos and you might get 1.61G, or sometimes it will even go backwards and you're going to get 1.55G. So it's not linear. That's the so-called load sensitivity. The more load you put on the tires, the more grip you get, but up to a point, then you start gaining grip slower, and then at some point you're gonna even lose some grip. So putting weight on top of the tires is not always the best situation. Why we're using so much downforce? We are using so much downforce because downforce doesn't have inertia. It's not mass. So yes, we put weight on top of the tires, but we don't have also the mass and the inertia of the weight to drag the car out. It's just force on top of them. So that's different. All right. Rejan Bazinet says, what are your settings to have the free camera so fast around the car? Here it is. You see, you have the little scroll wheel, right? So you press F7 and then you move with the right mouse click, and as you can see, normally it's very slow. And then you do with the scroll wheel. You see, if I do backwards the scroll wheel, it becomes very slow or even stops, right? And if I go the scroll wheel forward like this, it becomes faster and faster. You see, very fast. That's how you do it. All right. After midnight says if Aris is making the in-game descriptions, we'll have to scroll for ages. That's why we don't. All right. Okay, so let's go on. Let's see a little bit what we did. So here, as we said, on those turns, you have to, little taps on the brake before its turn and try to have as correct line as possible. So this is correct here. Accelerate on tap on the brakes. Inside, I've missed a little bit here the apex. I was a little bit wide. Tap on the brakes. In again. That was decent. Maybe I could use more of the curb. I'm a little bit too close here. Tap on the brakes. Now here, we said that we should start, waiting for the car and accelerating with this mark. But it seems that I have to do it much sooner. So we'll have to check this uh, reference point and maybe see if we can find something else. But for sure, I have to coast or even brake a little bit much sooner. So here's the trick. Instead of going wide into this place, I'm trying to keep the car as close as possible and end up in the middle of the road, like that. Okay, and then go as fast as possible to the right hand so that I can have as good entry and wide entry to the next turn towards left as it's as possible from the width of the road. That will help me carry much more speed in the turn and outside at the exit. So here we go. You see, very wide and go in, just a little bit of cost. Now, you really have to be very precise and careful here, because if you overdo it, the speed is you get a lot of speed here, and you can easily slide wide and outside the road here. And if you slide wide, since this turn keeps going, if you put your tires on the grass here, there's no way in again. You would just stay wide. It's terrible. So be very careful and precise when you apply throttle. If you feel just a tiny hint of understeer, just back off and wait again. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm perfect here. A little bit of luck also. All right. This is all flat out, no problems at all. Now here we're gonna brake at the 50 meters, more or less, a tiny bit earlier. Yeah, that's good. And you see how I'm going to the apex on the curb here. So I'm gonna just touch the curb over here. You see I'm already on the accelerator, and this is important here. So brake early, go in, and already on the accelerator. I'm a tiny bit too wide here, so I didn't make the correct line. So be careful here, because if you go way too wide, you're gonna get a track penalty. And again, braking correctly. Let's see how I did this turn. If I did it correctly, then as I'm approaching the curb, I should be starting on the accelerator and not after the curb. So brake, brake, brake. You see how little brake I have right now. I'm almost coasting. And now I'm already on the accelerator before the curb. This is the correct way to do this turn. So you have to get on the accelerator before you are going over the curb. If you are finding yourself going on the accelerator after the curb because you're still trying to, brake to make the turn, then that means that you are braking way too late, trying to gain some time, but instead you're losing time. You can see here, all the way on the accelerator, perfect exit, and we're done. Now here, all the way to the right hand side of the road. Let's go inside and see our steering wheel, how I keep it straight to make my braking distance as short as possible. Here it is. You see, completely straight, 100% braking. The ABS engages, but not engages way too much. to control the left and right side wheels locking. So completely straight, straight, straight. And now, as you can see, I will start turning, and while I'm turning, the brake will go down, modulating the braking force. Let's see this slowly. You see, turning and releasing the brake. A little bit of brake extra because I was going wide, so not so good here. But in the end, I managed to rotate the car with a bit of accelerator. It's not the perfect situation, so that's not a good example. You shouldn't do this. You should rotate the car properly and then go into the accelerator more slowly. I was going wide. I didn't have any more lateral grip, so what I did, I stopped on the accelerator so I could spin my rear tires and rotate the car from the accelerator, okay, from the power oversteering. But fortunately, I've managed to do this, and now I am exiting with not too much steering wheel angle. This is pretty much correct, and full acceleration. Okay, yeah. Next turn, as we said, is normal, no big deal, as low as steering wheel angle as possible, and braking here just before the side road. Let's go outside again. Braking, turning in just a tiny bit sooner. A good indication for me is trying to stay on the inner side of the rubber line. Now, obviously, the rubber line might change and you might not find it, but at least you can practice with it, see where you are, and then take have a better understanding where you have to stay on the width of the road. All right. Okay. So inside, the I'm not so close on the apex. Look at that. You can see here I could be much better. Again, you see now I'm going outside again. As we said, this is the kind of work and criticism you have to make to yourself. So now this thing here, it seems like what? It seems like 30 centimeters, okay, something like that, 30 to 40 centimeters, which might be for you, oh yeah, that's not a big deal, no big deal, I mean, who cares, it's good enough. No, it's not good enough. If you really want to be faster, this is the kind of details you have to check and get better with. Okay, you have to practice again and again and again until your tire is touching the curb right here. It has to be right here. This kind of distance is unacceptable. Even if your lap time at the end is satisfactory for your level, and you say, okay, I did my new best lap, I'm very satisfied, I've improved my lap times and everything. Don't don't stay there. Okay, don't do this to yourself. Go back, check the replays, find all these kind of things, and get better. This is what the aliens have better than us, okay, from all of us. The aliens will never be satisfied with this thing. Will be right over here, touching the curb. And if the curb, is if the curb is good for them and they can use it, they will be here, which is another 40 centimeters or more. So do that if you have ended your practice session and you're like, well, that's good, I've gained half a second, I'm very glad, I've improved, I feel better with the car, I have a good setup, I'm so glad with myself. Fine, stop, look and watch your replay, and wherever you see this kind of thing, then you know that, okay, next tomorrow, after tomorrow, I don't know, next time, go in and try to improve those details. Those details are 1/10 of a second or 2/10 of a second lap time, and as we said, if you add 1 or 2/10 of a second for the whole lap, you're gonna be better by 1, 2, or 3 seconds, depending on the circuit and how many turns each circuit have. So this is how you train yourself. All right, let's move on. Again, exit good on the curb. just before the curb, we are braking again and going in. You see that I'm trying to make a late apex here. So now I'm going to go in. You see how I'm turning the car towards the apex, much late apex. Again, here, the lap time was not bad, but as we said, this is totally unacceptable. It's not good. I should have should have placed my front tire here, exactly on the white line, and I'm not, which are tenths over tenths of a tenth of a second. Okay? Okay. Right, let's move on. This is all easy. Flat out. What a sound, eh? Listen to that. Pa! Nice. So again, braking before the 50 meters mark, and you see how I throw the car in. Now, because of the speed, and if you go directly on the accelerator, you can throw the car into the turn with relatively safety. Now, this is good. This is exactly where I should have been, on top of the curb, and as you can see, I'm already 100% on the accelerator, which means that I keep the car going forwards. I'm not losing time. The balance, the aero balance, because I'm on the accelerator, I don't have much pitch, so the car is more stable. And if I have done everything correctly, I'm gonna end out on top of this curb, and everything is fine. Now again, braking before the 100 meters. Remember, straight. Your steering wheel has to be as straight as possible and point to the outside of the road. You don't have to be at the outside before the braking zone. So you don't have to be at the outside here. So you see, here is where I'm braking. I don't have to be at the outside now. I don't have to be at this place right now. I have to point the car in a straight line towards the outside where my turn in will be. So don't move your car like crazy to go here before the braking zone. Just point the car where you want it to be. That's why you have to look as far as possible, right? So point the car right here, okay? And you'll see where we are going to end up. Look at that. You see? You see where we ended up? We ended up at the left side of the road by braking in a straight line but pointing towards the side of the road. Okay? So go in again. Now this time we got the whole um, curb around here. It was a little bit of a bumpy ride, but we'll get into that later. Boom. And again, you see how now let's watch this again. So I'm going into first gear. First gear is also, since it is a very slow turn, you already can see that I'm at 4,000 RPM. So you really need the first gear to go in. Now, down the curb and full acceleration. Okay. Now I have to turn towards left for the other apex of the chicane. So while I'm doing this, you will see that I will short shift in second gear so that I'm not staying on the first gear and have too much torque on the rear wheels and start spinning and having, unbalanced car and too much power oversteer. So as I turn in second gear, waiting a little bit with a bit of acceleration, and then full on the throttle outside the chicane. Now again, I'm around 6,000 RPM, and you will see that I might need to short shift. I might not. I don't remember here how we did the turn. So third gear, yes, a tiny bit of short shifting, and that's it. So that was our lap at Suzuka. Okay, so again, always watch your replays. Always watch a better driver replay. It's fun, and there is a lot to learn, and there is lots of things to make you, get better and faster. Okay, so let's leave this replay and check a little bit the the chat. Things about steering wheels, pedals, uh, things about the graphics. Yes, sir. This is what else? Okay, so this Italian guy keeps saying the same thing. Are we gonna have? I mean, it's the fifth time that he's saying that he wants something different from the flags. Are we gonna have our first banned user from the chat? I don't know. Incredible. Uh, yeah, I cannot move it, unfortunately. The throttle and brake input HUD. Okay, so all right. I hope you guys are not bored with what I'm saying. Right, so what are we going to do? We have been going on, it's 6 o'clock and 50 minutes. Should we start some race weekend and set up work, maybe? What do you guys think? Do you agree? Or should we call it a day and then try again maybe another thing, another day? Uh, Yeah, whatever. Let's do some. Let me explain you. We had a setup for the race. It wasn't bad. So let me explain you why we choose this kind of setup for the race. Okay, so quit from here, and let's go into a race weekend. Up race weekend, 8 hours race. Dear God. Okay, 60. Oops. Right. Race length. Yeah, let's put it 8 hours. 95, skill 96. Yeah, whatever, aggressiveness, I don't care. And something decent here like 20. I don't have that big of a computer, so maybe not overdo it. All right, we're good. Let's see if we can choose a different car. We cannot because those are the cars that we have available for Suzuka. Yeah, I like this one. Let's get this one. Suzuka is 10 hours. Suzuka is 10 hours, right? I think so. Should be written here. Yeah, 10 hours. Right. 10 hours. We have this. Here it is. Okay. 10 hours. 10 hours live stream. Let's kill ourselves. It's going to be either ACC or coronavirus, one of those. All right. Uh, so, June, right? Says, I found the BMW and most other cars to be much nicer on the curbs here at Suzuka with lower wheel rates and softer springs, of course. Uh, Fine. Sorry. Um, what negatives what negatives does this gives beside a slower reacting car? Uh, well, obviously you have less precision, and the next thing is that if you have a softer car, then the body moves a lot when you're giving or releasing the accelerator or braking, and that means that you're getting more pitch sensitivity. Okay, so more pitch sensitivity means that you might have a car that at the very fast corners is a little bit too pointy. It depends on the rest of the setup. We're gonna have a look at this right now. Okay. All right. All right, so we are on the track. We're gonna start with the aggressive setup, and then we're gonna switch to a different setup. So now we're gonna do a couple of
Green light, go,
laps
go.
to understand how the setup works for us. So limiter, and let's go. Let's raise a little bit the sound here. Whoa. You see, if you don't react before that, you see, then you're gonna need a much worse reaction, and you're gonna lose time, and you might even lose, you know, the car and the stability, and even might end into a spin. So you have to be proactive. You must not be lazy. Warm up tires and brakes. Right. 6:31 p.m. So nice. That engine is so loud. It's like a monster, it's like a dragon. It keeps breathing and snorting, and the turbo, you can hear the turbine, and then you can hear the blow off valve. Amazing. So tough. Okay, so tires are a little bit hotter, brakes are okay. Oversteer! Turifto! That wasn't good. Alright. Okay, let's see. 50 meters, brake. Oh, locked the brakes. Asked too much from the car there. Not good. Tap the brakes. Wait. Accelerate. Wait. Accelerate again. Alright, so here patience, patience, and in. And now exit. Those are going slow because, oops, what's out? Because they are probably at their exit. Lap time. Oh, I got a collision.
Car on the right.
Alright, we can do this.
Clear on the right.
Now that's one of the things, you know, I've always said that, but it really puts things into perspective. I mean, we only have 20 cars right now. Imagine this being, you know, a 50 cars uh, server or real race. You have so much traffic, you have to deal with the traffic. Now, obviously, humans are probably more intelligent than AI, and they will let you overtake them probably easier, but you know how it is, not always the case. But you know, to do your lap time, you always have to deal with the traffic, and there's lots of it into an endurance race. Alright, a bit wide. Now the car, you can see it jumps quite a bit over the curbs. And it is a little bit also pitch sensitive. So I can feel it when I'm braking that it wants to rotate a bit too much. Braking here. Whoops, you see how on the curb the car doesn't really want to to keep being stable, so I have to work a lot with the steering wheel to avoid bad situations. So that's one thing to keep in mind. See how it jumps around a lot, and I have to work with it every time I get the curb. Now we know in this circuit that the BMW has lots of power, so that means that, you know, the car can be, whoops, you see how it's either slides away or wants to rotate way too much. So it gives me hints that this car doesn't have enough grip inside the turns. But on the other hand, it's really very fast on the straights. I can feel the engine pulling really hard. And I can see this from the braking zones. You see here, I'm braking so hard and still I'm going wide on the first turn in. I also have many situations where, you know, I have lots of power oversteer. So in my mind right now, I start to get this idea that maybe I could use more rear wing to have more downforce on the car, even though this will bring some drag on the straights, but in the end we just have one very long straight, and at the end of that straight, it's not like you can overtake, so it's not Monza. So we have so many turns one after another. So I believe that with more downforce, I can probably have a better car. Yeah. I'm keep doing some laps now because I want to make sure also to check my pressures at some point, and because as you know, the first step is to check your pressures, and you need to do at least 4 or 5 laps so that you can understand what's going on with the pressures. You see, I'm getting closer to the other cars at the straight line. I mean, this car is so powerful in the straight line. But, oh, look how much power there is. If I keep my foot down, it's enjoyable, it's lots of fun, but obviously you're losing so much time. But still, I'm getting closer to the Honda, and we know that the NSX is so fast in the straight line here. So that gives me an indication that this car has tons of power from the BOP around the Suzuka, and I could possibly, you know, use more wing to make the car more stable and give it some more downforce and speed around this kind of turns. Look at that, look on the straight line. Wow. But then I just couldn't make the turn. I mean, it was so much faster at the turn. Oh, the curbs, have to work so hard to get over the curbs. Very hard. Look at the traction of the Honda. The NSX just flies, and then I get it. Look at that. That's ridiculous. How fast is this car? Wow. Ooh. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so I think it's time to get into the pits and have a first look at our tires. Yeah. Whoa! Oh god! All right, yeah. So much power, so much power. That was bad. All right, sorry about that, guys. All right, let's go in. So the front left was quite a bit hot during the lap, and the rears are a little bit down on pressure. We've lost quite a bit of pressure here. It's always a good thing to check your pressures. So check your pressures before you go in and then when you are stopping. Okay, it's very important. All right, so let's go to the garage, setup, and see how we are here. So, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the front end was quite hot. So I will go down by 0.5, more or less. 2, 3, 4, 4. Let's say 4. The right front was not so bad, but the rears were quite low. So I will go up by 0.5 at the rear. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now we said I would like to work with more downforce. So here at the aero, we have a rear wing of 4, which is mid downforce. We can try 2 clicks, go up to 6, and try if this is good for this car on this circuit. Now, we know that if we do this, the car will probably be understeery. So I should do extra things. But let's take it one step at a time. So we did our pressures, fine. Now we're gonna use more wing, see how the car reacts, and then get back after a couple of laps and do the appropriate modifications to eliminate the understeer. We already know what this is gonna be, but let's wait, okay? So let's go back and oops, sorry, return to garage. We are going to keep, even though this is a 10 hours race and we have many tire sets, we're going to keep the same tire set. Don't bother about it. So we can see also how we are consuming the tires. And already we can see in 5 laps that we have consumed quite a bit, which is true for Suzuka, because Suzuka really has a very abrasive asphalt and consumes tires a lot. But we will keep going with tire set number 1 and see if we are getting better. Okay, let's go out. All right. Oui, oversteer. Have some understeer here, but tires are still cold, so let's wait. Whoop. That braking zone was better than before. Obviously more drag, because Downforce, of course, gives you more grip, so you can brake harder, but it also gives you more drag, and drag also stops you sooner. Oh, that was good. I missed the turn in because my tires do not yet react properly, but I didn't end up wide because the car was still stable, so not bad. Brake here, a little bit wide on the apex. Braking, 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 braking. Oh, okay. Car keeps jumping around. Much better at the control of the power oversteer here. You see that I had only to do one small correction and the car just went straight. Okay, that's a lap with better tire pressures. Let's see. Overdid it. But I can still keep a better control of the car, which is good. There was a bit of understeer over that turn. Also here I can feel the car that doesn't want to rotate as promptly as before. Yeah, I have to wait a little bit more here. Ah, you see the understeer? Well, but that's normal. That's normal. But you can also see how I can, push on the accelerator harder and sooner, and I don't get so much power oversteer. Yeah. Let's see here. You see, I can go into the turn with more trust on the car. I can trust the car more. I'm not afraid that the car is gonna over-rotate and lose stability. Oof, oof. Much better on the braking zone. Well, a little bit of power oversteer. The car wants to go wide a little bit on the braking zone here. And here also. Oof, got too much into the inside. Waiting, waiting. You see how I'm faster on the delta, because even though the car has some understeer, it seems that it has more speed inside the turn. Went too wide. Ooh, third gear here, not good, not good. Great exit. You see how I'm losing a little bit on the delta on the acceleration point here, because obviously I have more drag. But then in here I'm gaining. Too much oversteer. But you saw how much delta time I've gained into the spoon, and now I'm losing again on the acceleration. Not too much though. So it's better to be slower on the straight line, just a tiny bit, but gain so much time inside the turns. Tire pressure seems very good. A tiny bit too much at the rear, but generally much better than before. Ooh, that was a bad entry. You see what happens when you end up very wide at the entry of the T1. Yeah, you go outside the rubber line, and then you go on the outside the camber of the road, and then all bad things happen instantly. And if you are there with a front engine car like this, which has lots of inertia, then you can oversteer and counter steer the car and get out relatively safely. But imagine what will happen if you go there with a Porsche or another mid-engine car that has lots of weight at the rear, and the rear always wants to overtake you. Not so good. Nice. So the tires now start to go down, and I also have a little bit too much pressure. Okay, so let's go in and see what we can do. Much better than before, right? Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. I love the sounds of this. I love the sounds of this game. Boom, 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 boom. Well done, Luca. All right. Okay. So let's go in. Again, always check how much pressure we're losing, and we're losing a lot. We're losing like half a psi each time we go in. All right. Okay. So um, we have some understeer. We still have the car jumping over the curbs. Pressures are better at the rear, a little bit unbalanced at the front. We can fix that. Um, what should we do? We should try to balance the car, but I would also try to make the car a little bit less bumpy over the curbs. So how can we do this? Okay, before doing this, let me check the chat a little bit and see if you guys can follow everything we are talking about until now. Uh, Brake tags, so this, try wing 10 in V12. Yeah, okay. Um, Still for steering wheels. Why the Lamborghinis are off the IGTC? They are in Kyalami. Depends on the race. Some races they are in, some races not. It should be in also Bathurst, I think. I don't remember. um, yeah, as long as it happens. The objective racing McLaren 650 is missing. Not sure about that, mate. I will check. All right. Okay, still force feedback talk and everything. All right. Okay, so again, guys, for the first feedback, uh, I have to keep my first feedback at 100% um, for development uses because I have to balance all the car the same gain of the first feedback. Also, something else that I see many people being, very alerted. If your first feedback HUD is going red, it's not such a bad thing, especially for consumer wheels. The thing is that it shouldn't go red at every situation, at every single turn. If it goes red over some bumps, some curbs, or some very high speed turns, just touching the red or being for a while red, then that's no problem. That's no problem at all. It should do it actually, because that will give you all the range on all the other situations that they are not so extreme, which means 99% of the situations. So low to mid to normal high speed turns, normal curbs, etc. Now, if it goes red when you are hitting very hard um, a curb, then that's fine. I mean, it will give you maximum force on this on the feedback. It could probably give you a little bit more, but who cares? What you do care is to have the good force and variation when you are normally on the turn, or when you are on the turn and you start sliding, so it will go either a little bit down or a little bit up. This is where you need the variation. So if on a normal turn it's full red, then that's no good. But if it just spikes on the red, like pump 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 pump, that's fine. You should actually keep it there with consumer wheels, because consumer wheels have not so much force, and if you put it that it doesn't touch the red, never, not even at the very high curbs or not even at the very fast bends, that means on the all the other turns it's very very weak. Now you might like it weak, that's fine, but I like it a little bit more, substantial in force, so I use it higher. Now again, don't watch my kind of settings here, because I use them at 100% gain, because I have to balance all the car the same way, and I have to have consistency. If it goes easier, I mean, if I were a normal user, I would have, for a direct drive, I would have take it down to like 30 or 40 gain, and crank up the actual steering wheel power to something like 80 or 70, something like this. Mm, let's talk about that in another live stream where we will do just this. Okay, but again, if you have a consumer wheel and sometimes during the whole lap, sometimes you go into the red, it's no big deal. Actually, this is the correct behavior. If you're already on the red in normal turns, that's not good. But if you're going on the red just at the very very high speed turns or at the very high bumps, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so okay, let me check. Let's see the chart. Honda doing 296 kilometers at the Bastards. Yes, it can happen. Boom, 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 boom. Rear brakes were almost never in green. Yes, we can check this out. The truck temperature is a bit low. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Zixerovios, Greek guy, talks in Greek, says that if I'm going into online races with many cars, if I change something to the graphic options, because he tried to do the test at Suzuka and had CPU warnings. Well, first of all, watch out, depending what the CPU warning is. If you had a CPU warning around here in a small box besides the tire hood, then this is perfectly fine and you shouldn't bother about it, because this is the CPU of the server. It tells you if the server goes, in overload from too many clients, and that has nothing to do with your system. It's the server. If you have CPU warning on, I don't remember where else, then this is your system, and you should check to have. I would lower the number of visible cars. You can keep it at 12 or 15 visible cars and it will be fine. I will lower a lot the mirror resolutions. I can also drive without any mirrors and using correctly the radar, stuff like that. Okay. Uh, Now, obviously, if your connection for whatever reason went down, then it will show you also one over 100% CPU users on the server. But at that point, it's your connection that is not good. So maybe you had a connection disconnection from the server because you had some issues with your connection. What are the ideal tire temps? Ideal tire temps, you can find this on the dev blogs on the forum. Uh, there it goes from 75 to 100. It's a bit of a wide range. Those Pirellis have a bit of a wide range of operation. Perfect should be around 85 to 95 somewhere, but you can go as wide as 75 to 105, and it's still almost perfect. We're talking really, really, really good. uh, Jun says, I can balance out the pitch sensitivity of running softer springs with more wing, right? Correct. More wing doesn't only gives you more downforce, of course it does, but even more importantly, it gives you less pitch sensitivity. So if you use more wing, the car is less sensitive to the pitch, so it becomes more stable no matter what the pitch, what the angle of rake is. And this is what we're going to try right now, because as I said, we have a car that it is pretty stable. Okay, we have raised the area here. We have some understeer. We'll watch this in a minute. But we have a car that jumps a lot over the curbs. Now, what's the problem over the curbs? The problem of the curbs is, of course, uh, stiff springs and dampers. Okay, but the number one issue is very stiff springs. Now, because of the weight, I don't want to lower, at least at first, I don't want to lower a lot the wheel rate at the front. I would like to do something else, because one of the main reasons of a very stiff front end are, of course, the bump stops. Bump stops are very stiff. Okay, so here's what: instead of having the car going directly over the bump stop at speed and at every obviously roll or curb that I am taking, I will make the bump stop range. I will take the bump stop a little bit far away from the suspension. So I will let the suspension move a little bit more before going on the bump stops. So I will raise this to 4, let's say. Okay, and that means that the suspension will have some movement before riding the bump stops. Okay, uh, that not only will give the suspension some movement and it's softer, but even if it gets on the bump stop, it means that it's still at the start of the movement of the compression of the bump stop, which means that it is softer. Okay. The other thing I could do is I could lower the bump stop rate. One or another, you can try and see what works better for you. But for now, what I want to do is make the suspension work more, and that hopefully might make my front end jump less over the bump stop. Now, we know that this is a very risky thing, so you have to experiment with that and be very careful, because we know that this thing will mean that the front end will go down farther, and will make the car more pitch sensitive. So the car will want to rotate more, the front end will go lower, and the aero balance will move forward. So all of that is very risky. But we have a couple of indications to keep in mind. First, we have a higher rear wing, which means less speed sensitivity. Second, we have a car that it is a little bit understeery. We know that it pushes a little bit. So here's the idea. That's an idea. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Okay. The idea is, let's let the front suspension move a little bit more before going hard on the bump stops. Okay. Which means that the front suspension will get a little bit softer. Now that will mean that the car will not jump so much over the curbs. Okay, we just need small corrections. So if everything goes correctly, it will not go, it will not jump so much over the curbs, and it will let the front end go a little bit lower on the ground, and this will move a little bit the aero balance towards the front. that would also help us rotate the car a little bit better. Okay, so maybe doing that, it will not make the car extremely unstable, but it might make the car more neutral as we want it, and at the same time make the car also with a better behavior over the curbs. Okay, all right. So, whoops, sorry. Again, let's go back to our tire set. As usual, we're going to use the first tire set. Look at the tire wear we're having, pretty important into this circuit. We can also change, I think, a little bit the tire pressures. I don't remember, maybe 2 clicks down here. I don't remember. We should have checked this better. We will check it afterwards. All right, so let's go in again. Pit limiter. Whoa, pit limiter. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Let's hope we don't get... all right, it worked. Again, the pit limiter penalty is dynamic. So if the system understands that, you did a mistake and you didn't want to gain time, it will let you go. Whoop. I wasn't watching. That teaches me to always be aware of what I'm doing. My bad. All right, so okay, move, 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 go, go. All right. Oh, so much traffic now. Woo. Traffic and oh, my tires are completely cold. Come on. Woo. Okay. Okay. Cold tires, dirty tires, everything. Worn out tires. And instead of driving, I'm talking to you and watching the camera. Well done. That's how you do it. All right. Let's concentrate a bit and see how the car reacts. So as I said, penalties in competizione, they are dynamic. If the system understands that you didn't try to gain time, then it will forgive you and it won't give you a penalty. But to do so, it needs from you a clear indication that, I just did a mistake, so raise your foot, maybe even brake a little bit and wait, instead of going flat out. If you go flat out, the system will say, oh, that's it, so you wanted to gain time from this, penalty or warning. If you are raising your foot and waiting or even, braking, then the system will try to understand and say, okay, so you just try to, not, you just try to not gain time, but simply, what am I doing? But simply you've mistaken, so that's fine by me, and it won't give you any penalties. Okay, let's get the slipstream here. Come on, come on, come on, BMW. Power! And see what we're going to do here. All right. Ooh. Ooh, a little bit of... oh, come on, man. Ah. All right, all right, all right. I can see already chat, everyone is laughing at me. I don't care. Haters. Now, ACCA doesn't rear ends. ACCA rear ends if you're not doing your work properly, because it's racing. If you close the guy in front, behind you, it's not like, it can disappear. You have to race properly and go fast. If you're doing this, that means that even in real life, it's gonna happen the same, Someone's gonna rear end you because you're not accelerating out of the turn and he's very close to you. Racing closely is all about having, trust to the other racer to do the correct thing. If you're not doing the correct thing, the other racer, being a human, or an AI cannot disappear, cannot magically, you know, break and disappear. It will just rear-end you. It's no other way. It's either this or they wouldn't ever overtake because they would always be very far away from you to avoid such situations. Okay, so let's see. Oh, did you notice how the car jumped way less over the curbs? Obviously jumped, but not as dramatically as the last laps. So I think we're into something here. Also, the car doesn't feel very unstable. Actually, not at all. I still have some tiny bit of understeer. You see how the Bentley goes away from me? Because I have to wait for the car. Well, obviously, I also have very worn tires. Oh, that was nice. Tiny jump, then instantly, set, and no drama. Car feels better. I still have some tiny bit of understeer. Oh, some more understeer here from aero by following way too close. The AI had some power oversteer moment over there. Understeer, aerodynamic understeer. Nice. Did you saw that? You saw how smooth the car went over the curb. So what we did on the front suspension bump stop seems to work. I don't have issues into this turn, which means that aerodynamically the car is not bad. I have some understeer here. Also, I'm following closely this Bentley, so that could be it. My tires are also worn, and I can feel that they are starting to slide a little bit. Just look at that. Ah. Nice. You see how the car is so much more stable and well controlled over the curbs. Yeah. Ooh, again. Yeah, we should move the arrow to the front a little bit. Let's see again. Boom. Boom. Nice. Yeah, pretty cool. Try to overtake again. Ooh. Yeah, that was nice. Proper overtaking maneuver. I still feel the understeer even if I'm on the clean air. You see, I have to wait here. Clean air in front of me, but still understeer. So yes, it's time to move the aero a little bit forward. Nice over the curbs. Nice, nice. Very good, very good. Things are working. Very good. Yeah, some better here without following the other cars too close, but still some understeer. So yes, it's definitely time. Ooh, look at that speed! Speed! Oh, two! What? Yeah, probably there are just guys on their slow lap. That's why I got too excited for nothing. All right, over the curb, boom, and look at that. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. All right. Okay. Nice. Nice. 20. Well, the temperature is going down, so our pressure is going down a little bit. We'll have to do a two, 2 to 3 clicks on the front right, and 2 clicks at the two rear. And brake. And ask. Nice. Good. It worked. So much better handling over the curbs. We still have a little bit of understeer, so now it's the time to move a little bit forward the aero balance and see what else we can do. So return to grass. Dinner time for Nitzer 24. Have a nice dinner, mates. See you later. Uh, I don't know what you go saying. KTO me going straight to 8 might be excessive, but maybe there's room for 5 or 6. Which thing do we're talking about? Even more. More bump stop. Yeah. From there on, I would be careful. I would be careful because we have already quite a bit of distance. So from then on, I would do 1 or 2 clicks at a time and be very careful. All right, so let's see here. Madsen says, so first try to increase bump stops before adjusting the springs. No, you have to play with one or the other. Remember this. Now, springs are linear. Bump stops are not linear. They are going exponentially more and more stiffer. So the less bump stops you use, the softer is the suspension. So in that case, because we also have a car that is not so much pitch sensitive, okay, because if we had something like a Lamborghini, that would be a risky thing to do to play with the bump stop range, okay. But on this car that we have lots of rear wing and less pitch sensitivity, we tried our first experiment with the bump stop range. In a Lamborghini, I would probably go with a slower, with a sorry, with a softer bump stop rate and or softer wheel rate. But it depends. The car is much more pitch sensitive than the BMW. Right. So yes, move the aero balance to the front, rising the rear a bit. Dark Eminems. Correct. This is exactly what we're going to do. And as we always said, couple of clicks at a time, not more. We cannot go lower at the front. We are already at the minimum. So we are going to do 2 clicks at the rear. 1, 2, like this. And we are moving just a tiny bit forwards the aero balance of the car. Okay. If that's not enough, again, we're gonna try with 63 or 64, 2 clicks at a time, not much more, because otherwise, we might go outside the operating. We won't understand anything. Let's come here and get again the tire set number 1, 2.5, 2.44, 2.57, 2.445. Well, lots of tire degradation. Yeah. Okay. So we said a couple of clicks here and a couple of clicks at the rear. Okay, that's it. And that's all. I want to try something, but I will try it afterwards. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. The AMG, Kevin Blanchett asks if the AMG is also quite pitch sensitive. It is, but it has one great thing. The suspension geometry has so much anti-squat and anti-dive that you can, work with softer front end without much bump stops, and you're still fine because the car doesn't dive, and doesn't dive not because of the stiffness of the front suspension, but because the geometry has lots of anti-dive. It means that even though you have softer springs or bump stops, it doesn't let the front end dive at all because the suspension geometry is made in a way that opposes into the diving force. Okay, so yes, it is quite pitch sensitive, but you can use much softer bump stops and springs with the AMG than with the other cars. All right, so very worn tires, also cold. Pit limiter again. Let's go. It's becoming dark, so let me. All right, let's go. Let's see, now we should have a little bit more front downforce. So let's see how the car reacts. Third gear might be better here. Ooh, some oversteer, but ooh. Oh. Ah. Tricky little bastard. That's why with the BMW you can never be relaxed. I mean, the car seems easy, cool, fast on the accelerator, everything, and then when you're not, when you think that you know everything about the car, it just snaps into you, and really can be very tricky to control. It just does those things sometimes. It's tricky. That was a scary moment. Oops, I'm oversteer here because obviously we have more downforce at the front and less at the rear. Code brown. Bleh. Oh, where am I going? Yeah. All right. All right. In. Nice over there. Whoops. Oversteer. So we have some power oversteer here. Power oversteer. Yes, I could use a higher traction control, but let's try and see if we can improve this. Very nice turn in here, very nice neutral car. Already much faster than before. Good speed inside the turns. Car feels much more neutral than before. Yeah, you can see I can force the front end to stay close to the turn. The oversteer. Damn it. Ooh. Ooh, that's what I was.
We've got some light damage on the front.
Ah, all right. That's what I was telling you. That turn, if you end up wide, don't push your luck because you end up with tons of downforce and mechanical grip, and you go with the external tires at a very high speed at the grass. That's it. All right, so let's see if we can go back. All right. Yep, the engineers will be very angry. All right. You see, we are starting to push the limits of the car, at least for my level of driving, and the car, the BMW starts to bite back. It's a cool car, it seems easy, but when you're trying to ask way too much for your talent, then the car just, tells you, it's not, you cannot do this. my, my, my headlights are broken. Did you saw that? My headlights are broken. Amazing.
Car on the right. Clear on the right.
When I'm braking, they just miss the contact and flash. Look at this. This is amazing. I think Gergo and Manu programmed this. So amazing, so amazing. It adds so much to the immersion. Well, look at this. Pop, 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 pop. Oh, God. Well done, guys. Fantastic. Yeah, it's unfortunate that you find this the hard way, as Xopop says. You have to crash before to check these nice stats, but it is what it is. Oh, that was nice. All right, so let's fix the car. Change again back to the tire set number one. Lots of tire wear, and okay, let's do one more lap. One more lap. I want to do one more lap to fill the car properly, and then I want to tell you a couple of things about the differential preload. I'm sure you guys will love that, so that you can understand how it works, and it will be probably our last change to the car. Okay, so the car. We have some. The car seems good. I could use a tiny bit of coasting understeer. It has some tiny bit of coast understeer, and at some points I'm forced to touch the brakes to bring the nose in. Okay, so a little bit of coast understeer here, and then I have some important and not so welcomed power oversteer. Okay, at slow to mid speed turns. You see, like that. So this is, at least, let's heat up the tires and double check, but this is what I'm dealing with right now. You see, I have some understeer going inside the turn. And then I have some understeer at the mid of the turn. You see, have to work a little bit to get into. Now, of course, my tires are all worn out, but still the main characteristics should remain. Started the braking way too late. Anyway. Ooh, oversteer. That's the main issue right now. We have lots of power, on power oversteer. We're good here, but here we start to having, see, a little bit of understeer. So you have to touch the brakes a little bit more to stay into the turn. Again here, it just washes out just a tiny bit. See, like this. And then, ooh, power oversteer. You see, if I keep pushing on the accelerator, I get lots of power oversteer. Some understeer again into the turn, and that keeps me slower. All right, so we're gonna go into the pits now, and we're gonna do our final for tonight touch on the setup. It's gonna be um, on the differential preload. Ooh, scary. All right, that's good. Oversteer. All right. Good. Over the curb. Nice. Nice again. And some power oversteer again. Alright, brake. And into the pits. Ah, ugh, starting to get a little bit tired, so let's do this and then call it a day. Maybe do some question and answers, but that's gonna be it. Actually, it's also quite late, so yeah, we better call it a day. Alright, so brake, 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 and that's it. Okay, turn to the garage. Setup, go back to tire set 1, lots and lots of tire wear. Preload differential. Why? First of all, why preload differential is so hard to understand? Because it works in a two different and opposite ways, depending if you have abundance of torque on your driving wheels or not. Which means that in lower gears it works in a way, and in higher gears it works in the opposite way. That is why it is hard for people to understand. Okay, they say, okay, rule of thumb, more of that gives me more of the other one. Okay, and less of that should give me less of the other one. Then they go into a different turn, and it happens the exact opposite. So more of this gives me less of that, and vice versa. This is why preload differential is a generally differential is hard to understand. It works in two different ways depending how much torque you have available and if you can spin or not your driving wheels. So what it does? So what it does? We will try to explain it with two very different extremes: completely open and completely closed. Okay, good. Now, what we can use this. Let's use it. Let's use this. Whee! All right. So you have your rear tires. Okay, your the driving rear tires. Now, if you're in a turn and you have a completely open differential, and this is your inner tire, obviously the inner tire will have less load than the outside tire. You give power. Okay, you give power, and at some point the inner tire that has less load starts spinning. All right, so the inner tire starts spinning. Okay, now if the differential is open, completely open as we say, it will get the power and torque from the engine and will put it all on the wheel that has less resistance. And the one that has less resistance is the one that is spinning. So if that is spinning with an open differential, it will spin even more. Okay, and in the end, if the differential is completely open, the inner wheel will get all the torque from the engine and the outer wheel will get none. The situation is that the car will not move forward much because all the torque will end up into the spinning wheel that has less grip. Okay, and there will be no torque on the outside wheel that has all the grip. Now, that's not the worst scenario that can happen because it means that the outside wheel that has all the lateral grip to keep the rear end from stepping out, okay, it now doesn't have to produce any longitudinal grip because it doesn't have any torque, okay? So it can have all the lateral grip that the tire can produce. Okay, so the inner wheel starts spinning. The torque of the engine, because of the open differential, goes all into the spinning wheel. The outside wheel doesn't have any forward force, so it generates all the lateral force it can do, which means that you are not moving forward, but your rear end stays relatively, stable. It doesn't slide sideways. All right? Mm. Now, what happens if we have a closed differential? And by closed, let's say that this time we have completely lock. So the torque goes from the engine to the differential, and the differential always, because it is, fixed lock to whatever differential, it always gives half the torque on the one side and half the torque on the inner side. Now, the inner side wheel will start wanting to spin because it doesn't have enough power. Okay, sorry, it doesn't have enough grip because it has less load. Okay, so it wants to slip, but that means that the torque doesn't move all to the inner wheel, but half of it goes also to the outside, and so you get your outside wheel that has all the grip necessary to keep the car stable. You have the wheel having to produce as much lateral grip as it can, but also starts to move forward. So it asks also longitudinal grip. And we know that the tire cannot produce the same amount of lateral and longitudinal grip at the same time, which means that if longitudinal grip is asked, then, and produced, of course, then the lateral grip starts to be less. And if the lateral grip is less, then the rear, actually, let me change this to a bigger screen because otherwise, guys, you don't see what I'm doing. So let's move here like that. Okay, is that better now? Hope so. Yes. So, as we said, uh, if if this doesn't produce enough lateral grip because it has also to produce together longitudinal grip, then the rear end starts to slide out. Okay, and this is the power oversteer. Both wheels starting to ask forward grip. No, there is too many of power because you are in a shorter gear, for example, and so the car starts to slide out and goes into power oversteer. Okay, is that clear? Now, um, and this is how V8 supercars move around corners, correct? Now, what happens if there is not enough torque? Hmm? Now, if there is not enough torque to slide one wheel, then both of wheels produce forward grip, okay, at the same way, because as we said, the differential is completely locked, so both wheels produce grip. Now, if we are at a high speed and we have a high gear and there's not enough torque to spin the tires, okay, so the tires do not spin because they do not have to produce so much longitudinal grip, then the lateral grip is enough to keep the car into stability, okay, so everything is fine, the car will turn. Not exactly, because if you have both rear wheels pushing forward at the same way, then the car will not only go forwards, but we will push the whole car to go into understeer, because those two tires want to go straight. They do not want to turn, they want to go straight. Okay? So, this is why the differential works differently in low gears than in high gears. Okay? Again, low gear, if the differential is open, the inner wheel will start sliding and the outside wheel will keep the car stable, so no oversteer. Okay? High speed, okay, and high gear. The differential is open, but there is enough grip, okay, lateral, so the car will not go into oversteer. But because the differential is open, the wheels can rotate in different speeds with no issues. And so the car can turn. So at high speeds, an open differential lets your car turn better. Okay. At low speeds, an open differential will give less forward traction and more understeer because it just spins the inner wheel and keeps the lateral grip from the outside wheel. Locked differential. A full locked differential, okay, at slow speeds, if it can slide both wheels, it will make the car slide in power oversteer. Okay? At higher speed, when you don't have enough torque to slide both wheels, it will make the car go into understeer. So once again, lock differential, oversteer in low speed, understeer in high speed. Open differential, understeer in low speed, oversteer or better turn in high speed. Okay? Let me see if you guys understood that. I know it is difficult. It's better if I write it down somewhere. Let me know at the chat what you think about it. Now, cost differential is exactly the same thing, but going backwards. So the tires are the wheels have engine brake torque. Okay, so they try to generate again longitudinal grip, but backwards. So open differential, more turn, more turn. Okay, open differential, more turn. But if you lock for whatever reason the rear tires, it will lock only the inner one, so more stability. Uh, Lock differential costing, it means more understeer because both of them will try to brake at the same way, and the lock differential would not let the inner wheel go faster, go slower than the outer wheel. So costing, lock differential, more understeer, especially at high turns, high speed turns. Okay. All right. So what we said was the situation here. Okay. We said that my car, let's go back in the setup. We said that my car was having power oversteer at low gears, second, third gear. You saw that on second, third gear I would go into the accelerator and I would have to correct a lot because I was going power oversteer. Why is that? We said low gear, power oversteer means that the differential was way too much locked. So it had enough torque to spin both wheels, spinning the outside wheel, power oversteer, right? And also, we said that in coasting, I had some understeer at the apex of the turn. So I had to tab, slightly touch the brakes to make the front end turn the car. Why is that? Again, lock differential. Both wheels wanted to rotate at the same way, so understeer in turn while coasting. Okay? So, correction, easy. Less power differential, let's say 4 to 5 clicks, so 4 clicks, 60 Newton meters. Less preload, less preload differential. It means that initially our differential will be more open. More open means less power oversteer and less understeer in cost. Okay? Is that clear, guys? Let's see the chat. Yes, preload diff always affects both cost and power behavior. Both at the same time. All right. So I've just lowered my preload to 60 Newton meters. So it will wait to have a difference in torque of 60 Newton meters, and then it will open, which is lower than 100. So it will stay locked for less time, practically. Okay, so let's try this. Again, we will use our old tire set to have an initial understanding of what happened. Okay, next session. Yes, thank you. And drive.
Green light. Go, go, go.
All right. So, as we said, we have opened a little bit our differential. If everything goes according to plan, we are going to have a tiny, we're talking really small differences here. A tiny little bit less power oversteer and a tiny little bit less understeer in cost. Okay? So let's see. Again, small differences, guys. So be careful because your driving style might not let you understand the changes. Okay? You have to be already well trained for the car and for the track, so that you can do constant oops, constant lap times. And if you can do constant lap times, then you can understand better the handling of the car. If you are not yet able to understand the handling of the car, don't do this kind of changes because your driving style can completely change the handling of the car depending on what you do with your inputs. Okay, let's warm up our tires. Why should I change my view? At least this way you guys can see what I'm doing with my steering wheels and everything. You see how the car turns in here? Tiny differences, but better. Ah, did you saw that? You saw the power oversteer. It goes there, but I could control it with just a slight touch of the steering wheel. I didn't have to do big changes. Alright, turn in here, pretty good. Oops, a little bit too much. Look at that, did you see that? Full power on, no big deal of power oversteer. Ah, yes. Sorry guys, I am completely stupid. I mean, what kind of, I'm stupid. You are right. I have to change not the driving car. I have to change this stupid thing so that you can see what I'm actually doing instead of looking at an idiot like me. Dear God. Oh, come on. I can't be so stupid. I'm so sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Oh, God. Yes, I know that you didn't see anything at all. Oh, God. It's all right. You can see everything, right? You can see an idiot driving, but nothing of what the car does. We can't see a freaking thing. It's true. Oh, he was well, yes, I can say that I'm trolling, but I wasn't. I'm just idiot. That was cool. That was nice. Pro streamer at work. Yay! I mean, Jimmy Broadband and all those guys have nothing to me. I'm so much superior. All right. Yes, yes. Okay, guys. Yes, that's going to be the last thing we're going to explain today because I'm really tired. I think that was nice. All right, all right. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. That was hilarious, right? Well, nobody can say that we don't have fun. All right. Oh, sorry about that. We have new tires. I wanted to try first with the old tire set. So setup, good strategy, tire set 1. Okay. All right. Don't cut this part. No, I won't cut anything. I never cut the whole stream, but I will cut it on the short ones. But maybe I should let it also in the short ones. Or you can do another meme, guys, that you do as usual with my idiotic parts of the live stream. That was nice. Yeah, yeah. The best part was that. Why should I change my? I mean, how can you not see the perfect example of what I'm showing, guys? I mean, why do you want a different driving view? Oh, you can't see anything. Right. Oh god. That was really idiotic. And that's why I prefer doing the live streams and not doing pre-registered videos, because I'm pretty sure I will do something so idiotic like that, and then I will have to throw out of the window maybe, I don't know, half an hour or 1 hour of video stream that I want to edit perfectly and stuff. No, it's much better like this. I mean, where can you find a developer that is lazy, idiot, and stupid at the same time? All right, so let's get back serious. I'm warming up my tires. As I said, we now have a tiny bit more open differential, and you see already that I can control power oversteer much more easier, and actually the car goes into power oversteer much less. I mean, it's way more stable than before. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, turn in on the curb, no issues. Look how smooth it slides out there. It just went like up, like no big deal. Very composed, no issues at all. Already we can see that the car reacts much better. Look at this, you see? Oh, that was so cool. And also costing not much of understeer as before, and we're still on the very worn out tires, which is very important. You see, I can keep the car inside. You see how it reacted well? Oops, that was my fault here. I just asked way too much because I was confident that the car would help me, and actually the car did help me, because you remember last time I completely lost control of the car and ended up on the wall, while now I was able to talk to you, counter steer, drift to time, no big drama at all, and the car would just let me control it. Nice. Let's do a couple of laps with those tires, and then maybe we can try fresh tires and see what's going on. Look at this. Car turns now. You see how the car turns in? Some oversteer, but nothing nothing too dramatic. Kevin, I will answer to you just after those laps about the GT3 cars and differentials. Give me some time. Oops. First gear. Messed up there. My fault. You see? Little control, car stable, moving forward. Look at this. Some controlling there. But again, nothing I cannot handle properly. Car turns in. You see? Car instantly got in with the nose in there. Good exit. Still gaining time. Look at that. On the curb. No dramas at all. Second gear on the curb again. Went a bit too wide there. I could have braked a tiny bit earlier or harder. Great turn in. Nice. Very good. Second gear in again, very nice. Bit of oversteer, but I'm pushing. Yeah, I've lost some time there, my fault. That's why I'm telling you, you need to be, to understand if you're driving properly or not. Because if you're not driving properly, then there's no setup that can, fix your errors. You see, again, way too late on my braking zone and completely messed up a very good lap. But you can see, I hope so, that the setup handles much better right now. Car is very stable everywhere. I can push it. I can do errors with the car, and the car still, keeps supporting me. You see, if I drive properly, how much time I gain everywhere. Let's try and do a good lap, maybe. You see how it rotates here nicely. Very good. Too wide on the turn in, and of course I'm losing time. Maybe I can gain something here at the exit. Yeah. Nice. A bit too afraid to push on the chicane there, but still better than before. And I'm already at 2 point meets, yeah, 2.5. Nice. Okay, so I won't go back here. Last thing I wanted to show you. Well, first of all, let's save the setup. Let's call this, I don't know, stream 1. 1, whatever. Yeah, this time I didn't save lots of setup. Sorry about that. Right. So Kevin Blanchard tasks in GT3 cars, the differential don't go fully locked or fully opened. Absolutely not. What you see here is the preload, which means you already have inside the differential clutches that have friction and keep the differential locked both in cost and in costing, both in cost and in power. The preload is how you push those clutches mm, together so they produce more or less friction. Okay. Now, usually those cars have a pretty open differential in power, like 15, 20, 30% of power lock, or in degrees it's the opposite, like 80, 90% in power. Sorry, 80 or 90 degrees they call it like this, but forget about that. And in cost, they are very locked to keep the car stable because of the aerodynamic unbalance. This is another hint that we had, that those cars really want to rotate when you're braking and they go into pitch. So the differential in lock in cost go up to 95% or even 100% on many cars. So yeah, it is what it is. Now we had another nice question here from Marek Von. Says, what do I recommend changing in the setup between qualifying and race? Well, of course, the fuel, obviously. But another thing you can do is, now, if you put less fuel and you put a fresh tire set like this, you know that you're going to have more grip. More grip means more traction. More traction means more understeer. So you could make a click or two for qualifying at the rear right height, so you have more rake. Okay, and that means that you get a little bit more front end aero balance and more front end grip because you already have more traction. You could make a little bit stiffer wheel rate because that will give you more precision for the just one lap, perfect lap, and vice versa for the race. For the race, you could also lower a click or two the wing, okay, because this will give you more top speed, maybe depends on the car, how much. And in a race in the middle of the other cars, it's always a good thing to be able to follow this slipstream and go out. Of course, if you lower the rear wing, then you also have to go down with the right height at the rear so that you balance against the front rear aero variation. All right, so last thing I want to do, yes, we have a pretty good setup. So yes, let's put a fresh tire and try one single lap and see what we can do. Fresh tires, it's gonna be probably a tiny bit understeering now, as we said. Whoop. My pedals just moved around. I don't know even where they went. Oh, let's fix that. Okay. All right. Good. Let me raise a little bit the sound here so I can hear what the car tells me. Also important to understand what the car tells you from any feedback you can get, like sound, visual feedback, force feedback, everything. Haha, the grip, haha, so much grip. Look at that. Right. Oh, little bit of oversteer here, but maybe are the tires. Oh. That might be an indication that, you know, the BMW has more tire wear at the front, so with the worn out tires, we had some understeer induced from the tire wear. Nice. Let's see what we can do. Oh, so much grip here. Wow. Choof. Sutututu. Nice. Oh, so stable. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Ah. Ah, could have started the braking so much later. And by so much later, I mean 1 meter. Ah, come on. Yeah. I went way too far outside. Lap won't count, but we have an indication. It's okay. Right now we're in practice, so we have an indication of what we can do. You see why I'm not using 5th gear there. Oh, come on. Ah. Mistakes. Many mistakes. Already a second down, but you can clearly see how 2 minutes flat is more than possible. Yeah, definitely. Already 1 second down again. Well, I'm 1 second down than the previous lap, so. It's the same lap time, I guess. But doesn't matter. See if we can do this one better than before. Yeah, much better. Oh, no, come on, Aris. That's why you shouldn't brake that hard over the curb. Yep. Too wide. All right. Let's push. Mm, not so good. And traffic. Yay, traffic, traffic, traffic. Oh, come on. Traffic. All right, so I guess you get it. We could easily, I mean, with a little bit of proper focus. We are also at 60 liters fuel, but we could easily do 2 minutes flat. Maybe also go to 59 with less fuel. But it's good, it's good. We have a decent setup that it's a good base. Maybe someday we can, work on those setups and make them even better with some telemetry work. But for today, I think we are already, it's 8 o'clock. We started at 4, 5 o'clock, so 3 hours again. I think that's enough, right? Yeah, we can call it a day. So let's go back to the pits. See what you guys are saying on the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope also that it was not also enjoyable. We had some fun and laughs, but I also hope that it was you know useful for you and you've managed to learn something today. All right. Yay. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, that camera part should go up as a separate video. I agree. All right. So let's watch the replays as usual, which are always a very nice thing to watch. And too long didn't watch best cam for racing. That's what I'm going to use. All right, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you all for staying with me. We're still at 176 viewers after 3 hours and a half of streaming. So wow, wow, it's a marathon every time. Why do I keep going for so much? Anyway, right. Thank you so much. See you somewhere on the track and on the next stream. Maybe we can do either the Aston Martin V12 or the Porsche somewhere. As usual, let me know some of your comments under the video. Subscribe, use the forums, use Facebook, do whatever you want, guys. Stay in touch. And thank you so much. And I think I'll call it a day because I'm now melting. Goodbye.